Hello and welcome to the CIB Research Seminar Series. My name is Billy Hare, and with my colleague Fred Sherratt, we are together the joint coordinators for Working Commission W099. And I'll hand you over to Fred to say a little bit more about what W099 is.
CIB W099, which is the Working Commission for Safety, Health and Wellbeing in Construction. And you can see our logo on the screen right there. So the background of W099 is essentially began back in 1994 when some of us were still at school. But you can see some familiar faces perhaps in this photograph, notably John Smallwood and Alistair Gibbs sitting at the table. And this was at the 5th Annual RINCA International Conference on Building Construction, and that was held in Gainesville, Florida in the USA. W099 since this point has just grown and become more and more well established. And I would say now it is the place for international construction academics interested in the health, safety and well-being of those working within our industry to meet, to network and to develop research ideas. And I must thank John Smallwood for that excellent photo. We do have a commission motto, and this is why we're so very much needed. Construction remains one of the most dangerous industries across the world. It has the highest number of fatalities and serious injuries amongst many industries, and it is an area where research is really needed to help ensure we mitigate those deaths, injuries, ill health and poor well-being. And to inspire us as we go, we look to a woman called Mother Jones, who was particularly active in the USA during the establishment of the very first pieces of legislation to protect worker health, safety and well-being. And Mother Jones had a specific motto, and it's one that we've adopted for W099. Remember the dead and fight like hell for the living. And that's what we do. This is what inspires us to do the research that we do and to deliver this particularly crucial area of research within the wider built environment. This is our current leadership team, and as you can see, I'm 50% of that. My co-coordinator there, Professor Billy Hare, and I have known each other for a long time, but only recently, relatively recently, took over the leadership of W099, and we were absolutely delighted to be the inaugural winners of the Dr. Wim Bakken's Best Coordinator Award. And you can see us on the stage there receiving our award at the previous World Building Congress held in Melbourne, Australia. And an interesting thing about this picture, you can see that Billy and I really didn't get the dress code, but this is a W099 quirk where we do like to attend our conference dinners wearing what can only be described as our best party shirts. So for those of you who get involved in W099, this is a requirement, but as you can see, we're slightly more colourful than most. And I also, of course, have to give a shout out to our close colleague, Prof E, who is the coordinator of W123, and you'll find out a bit more about how we work together in a moment. So we are the coordinators, and let's just find out a little bit more about each of us. So this is me. I'm obviously a chartered builder, chartered building engineer, an associate member of the Institute of Civil Engineers in the UK. And that's partly because I have a mixed up background. I spent over 10 years working in industry, started out as the site secretary and ended up as the construction manager. And you can see some of my site photos from back in the day, up a tower crane in Manchester in the northwest of England, but also demonstrating you can run a job site with inch-long pink fingernails. And then you can see some of my students on graduation, the best day of the year for any academic, when we get to see people actually realise their dreams. And to that end, I've written a couple of books to help them out. You can see the textbook Introduction to Construction Management. That was one that covers all general aspects of construction management, but also my greatest hits of safety in there. And now I work for the CSRA, a construction safety focused research group based here at the University of Colorado in America. And there's me with the as then Ghanaian Minister of Labour. And this was at a great event where we were trying to really bring some environmental safety and health aspects to the Ghanaian construction industry a few years ago.
So here's some information about myself. Billy Hare, Professor of Construction Management at Glasgow Caledonian University and Chartered Builder with CIB. I also am the Deputy Director of the Beam Research Centre, that's the Built Environment Asset Management Research Centre at Glasgow Caledonian. My background, like Fred, is from construction site management, and after that I started a career at Glasgow Caledonian University working predominantly on research funded by the UK Health and Safety Executive, the CIB Construction Industry Training Board and various other similar industry and funding bodies. And my research portfolio is almost exclusively around construction safety, health and well-being. I've included some images to let you see the kind of stuff that I get up to, predominantly around attendance at CIB W099 conferences over the years. Some photos are older than others and show attendance in, amongst other places, Beijing, Melbourne, Australia, and Ireland, as well as South America. I do still get involved in some hands-on work, as you can see with my hard hat on, doing a little bit of renovation work. I do get dressed up from time to time as well, and the image with the bow tie looking rather dapper was my time when we held 2 years of the W099 and W123 joint conference online, and that's actually from my living room set up for those 2 years of 2020, 2021, where I decided, just to get out of the mundane of working from home for almost 2 years, that I would get dressed up a little for the benefit of the conference and awards ceremony. And just to blow my own trumpet for a little, I do get asked from time to time to comment on various construction industry related matters by the local media such as the BBC, where you can see from this image I was commenting on the fire of the world-renowned Rennie Mackintosh building in Glasgow in 2018.
So this is our community, and we are super proud to be able to say that we have commission members from every single continent except Antarctica. We have people travel from all over the world for our events, and we like to keep this network lively and in touch. We are certainly pretty much one big family. You can see there our very successful conference in Salvador in Brazil, where we were hosted by Diana and her colleagues, and that was a fantastic event, co-jointly with W123, as we often are. And there you can see us in Porto celebrating the CIB's 70th birthday. This was on the quay at Porto before we had a great social evening at our conference there. But you can see Billy and I displaying the flag proudly as W099 got involved in the celebrations. Our working commission obviously focuses on health, safety and well-being, but we do have some kind of truisms and fundamentals that we look to. First and foremost, we are incredibly international in our outlook. We look at the world as a whole. We are not simply focused on certain continents or geographical areas, because there are very, very different challenges faced by people in developing or the global south and developed or the global north countries around construction, health, safety and well-being. We're incredibly cautious of the post-colonial legacies that the world is currently becoming more and more aware of and starting to work more and more with, particularly as it purports to actual practices on job sites, but also how we research them and the methodological influences that we may be transplanting from Western ideals that simply just don't find fit with the different contexts that we find all over the world. So we are very, very keen to point out that the West hasn't got it right, and it really hasn't. Unfortunately, I believe that the UK statistics for serious injuries and fatalities actually increased last year. I know America over here, many people die on a regular annual basis working in construction. It's just not acceptable, but it also shows that we haven't got all the answers, and we do need to research things with care, nuance, and very great sensitivity to context if we're actually going to produce research able to have impact in the field. We also cover both blue and white collar construction workers. We have colleagues who specifically research the professions, architects, engineers, but also people who are interested in the health, safety, well-being of our construction management students before they get there. And then, of course, to those folks at the sharp end, the people who actually are most vulnerable to problems, particularly around serious injuries and fatalities, who actually work on the job sites and who, unfortunately, are most vulnerable to the issues that our area of research explores. We're also keen to ensure that we look at the whole project lifecycle with relevance to health, safety and well-being. You'll notice these terms blunt and sharp end. Yes, we do have the workers out on the job sites, and that's where we have the problems where people do get injured and unfortunately killed. But often the reasons for that, the root causes, if you will, are from much further upstream. They're decisions made in procurement, costing, resourcing, that have knock-on effects down onto the job sites. And we're very keen that the theories of safety science that we mobilise within our research commission actually are at this contemporary leading edge around systemic theories of safety and how safety fits into the larger operational organisational structures and systems. And the fact that it isn't an add-on, we can't simply extract it and deal with it. So to blame the worker for their own incident when there's probably myriad influences that have led up to that point is simply, it's out of date, it's out of touch. And so we really try to bring in new ways of unpacking this as I say, very contextually relevant to make sure that the research that we produce has the validity, the reliability and the generalizability within the areas of interest. So it actually has real impact and actually makes a difference. And to do this, we work very closely with W123, people in construction. Of course, you can see that overlap right there. And we find lots of areas of synergy with our colleagues within that commission. And we do work very closely together. Here are some of our recent activities and outputs. You can see we have the annual conference on the regular, and we're really excited to be going to Noost in West Africa for our next conference in October this coming year. But we often have a regular conference on the 2 years between the World Building Congresses as they occur. And you can see here we always have full proceedings with full ISBN numbers. This is the book of proceedings that came from our Portugal conference last year, and which is also being supported by a special issue of the ICE's Proceedings of Management, Procurement and Law. And we always try to ensure that the best research from our conference finds an additional outlet to disseminate it as widely as we possibly can. W099 actively participates in the World Building Congress, and we also have hosted a number of webinars as we go. We held one jointly with W65 in February of this year, looking at the problem with metrics and measuring all the things, which within safety is really quite important. The most common metric that we use is how many accidents have you had, the annual accident frequency rate or total recordable injury rate. But interestingly, research has actually proved that they're simply statistically invalid for what we try and do with them on many bases. So it's interesting to see how metrics work or don't work for safety, and those were unpicked in that webinar. And then obviously, because I get to talk to you about this, you can see that I've also contributed to the CIB President's Seminar, where I actually was looking at technology with a little bit of a safety twist as well as part of that seminar series. Building from that, here's our work plan for the next 3 years. We're very keen to keep providing our index conference proceedings, and as we said, that'll be coming out of our conference from Noost, which is being held on the 8th to the 11th of October. We're also enhancing what we do. As you can see, there'll be a PhD workshop as part of that conference, as well as site industry days. 2025 will be at Purdue for the Congress, and we're already looking to 2026 to see where we can take the conference next. We are also contributing to further webinars and workshops as we go. The role of building information modelling, or BIM, in the realisation of accident-free construction. Billy and I'll both be talking to that in September, and we hope to establish a fairly regular programme of webinars focused on topics of interest to the W099 community. And then, of course, we're working on our research roadmap. I've already mentioned a couple of theories that we look to and establish as our truisms into how best we can research and continue to contribute to the improvements in occupational health, safety and well-being within the industry across the world. This is a 10-year rolling plan in terms of the roadmap, where we think focus should be put how industry and research are developing and and improving safety as we go, and what we can do as a commission to best support that for optimal outputs and outcomes. And just to close, I'd love to share this slide of some of our more exciting activities under W099. We are always open to welcome new members. The work that we do is very serious and very important and critical to the improvement of workers in construction across the world. However, we also are very, very keen to make sure that we build community, that we build friendships and relationships that will last for decades. And you can see here some of the photos that Billy and I had from our favourite conferences. You can see in the middle there, myself and Billy, that was over 10 years ago now. Roy in the wake of the quake t-shirt, that was in Washington, where there was ironically an earthquake the day before the conference started, which was something we hadn't really factored in despite being researchers of safety. But you can see there many familiar faces, I'm sure. You've got Steve Rowlinson peeping over Roy's shoulder, and you can also see John Gambattese being assaulted by Billy in Porto as part of the festival there. And in the bottom you can see the beautiful views of Cape Town and Table Mountain that we sadly missed because it was far too cloudy. But we are a great community. We are welcoming. We love to have new people join us. Come and see the research that we do, the vital work that we are trying to really put out there to improve safety, health and well-being for construction workers across the world. You can see Billy and my email address there. Do just reach out, give us a nudge, and we hope to see you at one of our W099 events very soon. Thank you for your time.